SmashFactor.
Ripping driver, going for it. Oh my goodness. How about that tee shot?
That is crazy how far that is.
Wow. John Daly, take a back seat, big fella. How about that drive?
That's an aggressive line. Man, that is beyond long.
Look at this, he's just driven the green. He has just driven the green.
I guess hello world, huh?
Welcome everybody to another episode of SmashFactor, the 2020-2021 edition of the Sanderson Farms Championship. A similar field to last week, similar kind of, I guess the best thing is we get Shot Tracker back, probably get PGA Tour Live, stuff like that back that was kind of missing from last week. Always tough to deep dive into for me, showstoppers, and then just showdown in general without Shot Tracker, even betting, all that kind of stuff. I don't like it as much when I don't have all the details to kind of look at, because it can be deceiving, as we learn when we look at all the showstopper stuff of guys, why they're doing well, putting, all that kind of stuff. Not much out there last week on all that, so glad to at least get that back. Not as strong as a field that we would probably like, but it's just fall swing for guys that aren't used to it. Contest took a dip back this week from even last week, so a little bit, full-fledged NFL, college football, even got MLB, NBA finals coming, MLB playoffs, so understandable. Still, I think better contest than what we had a year ago at this time, so thankful for that. And we know enough of these guys and didn't have the big overchange like we normally do with a bunch of the web guys coming in, just because of the rules and the guys getting kind of grandfathered in for this year on their card. So that's one positive. Feel pretty good about just the first look at the field and looking over everything. A lot of the similar guys that played last week, so that's one good thing. And then some guys that took a week or two off that maybe weren't in the U.S. Open, didn't want to travel down to Corrales, so maybe this is their first kind of event for this swing season, I guess you would say. So, I'm looking forward to it. I will say, we've seen on Twitter that Zalatoris, I guess his tracker, I don't know what credibility we hold there. Tiger Tracker was kind of one of the first ones. Now there seems to be a lot of those. He made it seem, I saw a deal in Slack that he wasn't playing. I have not. I even checked right before I jumped on now. I had to take my son to a doctor's appointment this afternoon. So I finished everything earlier and I came back, just kind of double check stuff before we started SmashFactor. The only thing I saw is that it looks like Usti is withdrawn. He was going to be my flop. So I made a quick change there, but I have not seen it officially that Zalatoris is not playing this week. So everything I'm gonna go through tonight is as if he's playing. Obviously liked him last week, had a strong Sunday, finished 8th. I don't know why he wouldn't, unless he's just tired because he played the U.S. Open, played this. Because if he gets a win, it's still PGA event, so he gets a 2-year exemption. Right now, those guys we talked about last week, that's big for them because there's not going to be as many exemptions. Although the way he's playing, he'll probably get more than most. I don't know why you wouldn't play in what we would categorize as a quote unquote weaker field, but. Wrapping up last week, glad for Swafford, had him in my top 25, I think, overall. Had him in a bunch of lineups, probably like anybody else, the excuse of one guy here, one guy there. Batia missed one shot. I think Gordon was even, but he was high owned. But there was a few just that were -1 or -2 that just killed some great 5 or 6s. Got about half my entries back or so on the week. Not the best week overall. Really wasn't. I didn't watch a lot of it either. I was so much going on with football, college football, big weekend, a lot of upsets. My Sooners lost, LSU lost, Texas almost lost right at the end of Texas Tech. Big NFL weekend. I was been injuries. That's good. I continue to just get drummed in NFL DFS. So I got to get better there and figure out. Of course, I look at the top and it's just, people are playing the obvious plays, and maybe I got to balance that out somewhat. And guys I liked, I like Kyler, I liked Hopkins, I liked I like Dak, I like Russell Wilson, all those kind of guys. And I'll go more in depth to that a little bit tomorrow morning on the Cup with Gup when I talk about review of the week and the power rankings and all that kind of stuff. I used to do it on Monday mornings, but I think I had someone DM me earlier, and the reason why I'm doing it now on Tuesdays, I was doing it Monday for a couple weeks just because there wasn't much going on. But now since we have Monday Night Football, the SmashFactor, everything else, it gives me a day to kind of, once I get done with this, I kind of lock in my lineups, and then I start reviewing last week in my head as I update rankings and power rankings and stuff like that. And then I have more to talk about when we go into that show. So I'll get into some of that and some strategy talk in general of where I think I'm going this week. Ryan continues to kill the cash game. I said it last week, but I really think I'm going to play cash. I've never played cash before in NFL ever. And I look at it and look at some of the lines. So I was like, man, I may take a part of my bankroll because I feel like I have pretty good cash lineups in general. I would like to think what I play in the GC FFL is similar to that kind of style, a little bit different, and I do well in that. So it's a great thing to do, especially if you get so overwhelmed or frustrated with GPPs, because it is very hard to win in NFL. Take a look at that catch. You did a great job, and the whole team's done a great job. This whole reboot and everything we got going on has been tremendous. Not a lot on the tournament last week. Swafford, grinder, and he's been through ups and downs like a lot of other pros, documented, talked about it even. So I'm glad to see a guy like that win. Zalatoris, like I said, finished strong Sunday. Zhang's the one that kind of hurt me on Sunday. Took a couple of my good lineups that I still had a chance on, and he just went southward. So did, I think Ventura didn't finish as strong as I would have liked Sunday either. That kind of hurt. So just grinding. I mean, this fall swing, it's more for testing stuff. I do that. If I want to try a little bit different strategies or take a tournament and be a little bit different than normal. So, this could be a good time, especially if you want to lower your bankroll and try. Maybe you never play GPPs or you never play 20 max or something like that, or 50 or 75. This is a good time to go down. If you can go down to like the quarter and play 150 lineups in a dime or a quarter, whatever it is, and just try it. It's a good chance to do it. These players are so close in talent. You don't have the big superstars up there or anything. That this is a good time to get your feel for building pools and player, how many players you want to put in a pool and different combinations of strategies and stuff like that. Plus the green machines got you ready. So once you get your pool build, your exposures, you can run it through there. And it's a good time to practice and try that kind of stuff. Because there's not a lot of difference between, an 8,000 to a 7,000 or a 9,000 to an 8, or even some of these 6s that, you can take some of those chances and take a, people may get off of someone just because of the dollar amount, and you could be on them, and get you some leverage there, especially with we're still putting all our content out for golf. We hadn't taken anything off the table. Didn't do E9. I'll do that as it feels like we need it throughout the fall swing. Obviously the Masters, stuff like that will do it, but that allows a little bit more focus on NFL, which we're trying to do, and college football and stuff like that. So as always, site sponsor, Super Draft. Go to gupscorner.com/affiliate. Use the code GUP, or click the link and also use GUP. Right now you can get 50% match up to $1,000, which is, great for anybody that's out there. You put $10 in, you get $5. You put $1,000, you get $500. It doesn't matter your bankroll size. You're getting the 50% match, which is always awesome. Right now on Gup's Corner, you can use get 15% off with GC15, any package, monthly or annual. We will start to roll out kind of our march to the Masters probably next week. Working on some final things there this week, getting it ready, and we'll have some promos and ways to win. I always talk about it: like, review, subscribe, YouTube, Facebook, iTunes and YouTube are the two biggest for us. I always pull a winner when I have a big giveaway, and we'll have a huge giveaway for the Masters. So I always pick a winner out of people that subscribe to us on YouTube or rate and review us on iTunes. Those are the best way to help us out. Listener League is up now. I tweeted it. It's in Slack. I'll also put it in the pod when I send it out. Last week's winner, I know he's been around maybe since the beginning, but forever. Always see him in Slack. Good guy. L Bulliard 64, 508 points. Great score in general. Zalatoris, Rogers, Perez, James Hahn, Baker, and Swafford. Rogers was the only guy he was good in my rankings, but that was the one guy I kind of faded. Obviously that didn't work out too well for me, but the rest of them, I talked about all in the lineups. So good build for him overall. Having Swafford in the big day from Zalatoris on Sunday definitely helped him. James Hahn was right there. Almost got the T5 from him. Betting was down a little bit in golf. I think I'm 4-2 in NFL right now. I lost a little half-star parlay, so I guess 4-3 if you want to count that. Got to play on tonight's game. If you still got time, you go check it out. NFL's been decent, good. College football, one of the worst Saturdays I've had. Not only just because the record was terrible, but the last second losses, the last drive losses, TCU loses by 3. They don't kick the extra point at the end of the game that would have covered because they did 2.5. It was just a brutal Saturday in general, but I got to get better. There's no excuses there. This week, as always, I'll refer you to Kenny Kim, kind of the GOAT of course previews. He goes over it on his podcast, Fantasy DGen, and then he also puts out a full-fledged course preview on the website and adds to it on Wednesday with additional information and plays that he likes in addition to what he talks about on the pod. It's another birdie fest, par 72, 7,500-ish. The one note that I kind of picked up off of reviewing from last year is these par 5s rank in the top 10 or 15 every year as far as difficulty scoring on par 5s. I think it's the 11th hole is a par 5 that you get the pond in front. So most people you get the forced layup, and then the other 3 are long. They just don't score. They don't have the scoring rate like most of the par 5s we see on tour. And you can tell by the winners, it's been a mixed bag, and it really comes down to hot irons and making putts, especially because, since this moved here, which was 2014, 2015, Nick Taylor won that year, 16 under, 18 under, 20 under, 19 under, 21 under, 18 under. But you've had all a mixed bag of winners. Munoz last year, Champ, Bomb and Gouge, Armour, my boy, couldn't be more different than Cameron Champ, Gribble, Peter Malnati. I mean, so very different way of winning it. But, I think they got to be hot with their irons, putting it in good spots, giving themselves good opportunities to make a chance or make a putt, probably closer. I'm focusing on kind of that opportunity gain inside 18 feet, that approach proximity level. Corey Connors got second there 2 years ago. So you don't have to be an elite putter, but you have to have a good week mixed in with great iron play, in my opinion. That's kind of the focus. I did a little bit of ball striking so I can get a little bit of that off the tee, but I don't think it's like imperative to be the biggest off the tee here by any means. And you can look at runner-ups here as well and kind of see that. Weather looks absolutely perfect. No issues at all. Very little wind. Probably means even lower scoring. I got the cut. It's going to be around 3 or 4. And I think the winner's going to be around 19, 20, kind of like it has been. Going to need birdie makers, so on and so forth. Not going to be a long pod. It's kind of like a regurgitation of a lot of the guys last week. So I just want to hit on the high notes. We'll dive into the deep dive and get going in the premium content. I know everybody's anxious to watch the Monday Night Football. I am as well. I still got, I'm going to build some lineups. I put out a showstoppers tonight for NFL. I've had a lot of talk about that. First stab at it, and that way I will add some more color moving forward. But the doctor's appointment this afternoon kind of got me off tread. But I did want to get my thoughts and players of where I wanted and builds kind of out there, stir up some conversation. I'll jump in Slack after this and follow up on that as well. Get your feedback and see where we can grow on there. I don't mind covering the showdown for NFL at all. I'm not a big believer in it in the sense that I'll probably cover it more, not cash, but more of single entry, 1 to 3 max. Because just going to be honest with you, if you're playing the Millie tonight or even the secondary $10 I saw, it's hundreds of thousands of entries in there. And even if you max it 150, it's such a crapshoot, and it takes such a box luck type of a luck box type of deal that I don't want to spend a lot of time and resources on stuff like that. But I do think, like, I play a lot of, so when I play it, I'll play the single entry, and I might throw some darts in the $10 or something just for fun. There's some strategy that could be had there and talk about it. So, that's something we should probably cover, especially doing it full time now. So I will adhere to your request and we'll try to make it bigger. Key stats for me today on the Sanderson Farm. I just want to throw that out there in case you're watching live. And I don't normally do the showstopper NFL, so I want you to know it's out there if you want to go take a look. Like I said, I'm looking at accurate approaches, ball striking, opportunity inside 18 feet, birdie or better, or any type of scoring rate that you want to look at. You're going to have to score well. And then approach proximity is kind of last one. All those stats found on gupscorner.com, PGA Research Center. 5 guys in the 10K, which probably means 4 now because that included Usti earlier. 10 in the 9K, 11 in the 8K, 32 in the 7K, 80 in the 6K, a lot like last week. My strategy is going to be pretty similar to last week in general. I'm going to find a good core. Don't really care about the price, and be strong on that so that if that hits, I'm sitting pretty. And then my deeper end of my pool, my lower end, if you will, not price driven, just the guys I'm going to be less on. I may spread it out, fan it out a little bit in a field like this. So I still want to be tight and, locked in on the guys that I believe the most in, because I don't want to spread myself too far out. I don't think that's ever a good idea, especially if you're going GPP route. There's some guys I feel pretty strong about this week. So, I'll be locked in on those guys and then spreading out where I think I need to. Dirty Dozen, as always, 12 picks. The first 3 tiers are 3 picks based on price. The last one is a flop, fade, or sleeper. And then I've changed the end where I do the last 4 out and my gut feel plays of the week. We'll knock out betting, one and done. We'll call it a night. Get out of here early. First Dirty Dozen, 9K or above. I did this earlier when I was unsure on the Zalatoris, and I still am. He would be in here. So if he's playing, he's in there. Let's just say that. That's obvious with me. I've been on him probably as quicker or longer than most people in the industry. I can tell you that, which is irrelevant. But I'm just saying I've been on him. I'm not going to back off of him at 10-2, coming off an 8th and a 6th. I like him. We'll figure out if he's playing soon enough. I did check, like I said, right before I come on. There is no official him withdrawing yet, so I'm going to assume he's playing. But the 3 I picked outside of that, Doc Redman, we know, big Doc guy. There's a segment on him now, which it started hot. Ricky Barnes looked good Thursday. He made the cut, just didn't do much, but, a little bit of excitement there. Doc's 4th in the field in stats, 5th overall. He's top 14 in every stat that I have except for 1. 5th, 2nd, and 4th in the approach, ball striking, and an opportunity gain inside 18 feet. If he's hitting it tight and can putt, and his putting's out a little bit better, I like him. 3rd at the Safeway. Last year he played it. He was a 52nd. Not great, but probably more advanced in his career than he was back then. Scheffler, I'm interested, kind of like last week was Zalatoris. Is he going to get popular because of the price? Probably. I think Scheffler has much more, and Zalatoris wound up not being too popular. He was like 16% or so. I think Scheffler, people are going to go, he's heads and above most people in this field, and they could see him winning it. Sung Jae's right up there with a little bit of notoriety type, but I think people will play Scheffler. I like Scheffler. He's 2nd in my model. He's played this twice, so this is his 3rd year. I kind of like that he's familiar with it. Got a 16th last year, then a 45th. Nothing negative against him at all. If he does spike in ownership, I'm not going to play the highest price guy at the highest ownership type deal. So that'd be the only thing that would change for me going into Wednesday. But we'll keep an eye on that for, when I do my final thoughts and stuff like that. Sam Burns, good week last week. No reason for me to move off of him. Didn't really finish strong Sunday, 28th, but he had a 7th at Safeway. This is 4th straight year to play in this. A 43rd, a 3rd, a 45th. So he's always made the cut. 9,800 though, you got to get a little bit better than that. But, he's 20th in my stat, 3rd in the recent form, 22nd in course fit, 11th overall. I really like Burns. This is where Zalatoris would have been in if I knew for sure he was going to play. But with the question mark, I put Burns in there. So 3A, 3B with both those guys. I like them both this week. And there's guys down price that I don't mind paying up this week. I don't have to stay balanced per se. Next tier, 7,600 to 8,900. Siwoo, who is actually the number 1 ranked guy for me model wise this week, 8,400, 2nd in stats, 2nd in recent form. He's 3rd in approach proximity, 2nd in birdie or better, 3rd in opportunity inside 18 feet, 13th in ball striking, 26th in accurate approach. So, 8,400 kind of seems a little cheap for him in this field. And so I like him, and I definitely don't mind the betting either at 50-1. So, Kim's a guy I think I'll be on and probably be heavy on as well. He could be popular just because of the name and the price being down. Next guy, I've been riding him for a while, not leaving him now. Cameron Davis, 8,100. Love the price there. I will predict he will probably be one of the top 5 talked about or owned guys. So may just have to get overweight there and just eat it. He's 8th in stats, 6th in recent form for me. He's also, this is his 3rd year playing it. He had a miscut in 18, then a 28th last year. So I like that he bounced back strong after his miscut. Nothing negative against him. He's been playing great. 36 at the Safeway, which I mean isn't, but now 8,100, like that's a guy top 25 gets you good. But I mean, I think he has potential to win this. So if I can get a guy that cheap that I literally look at and think he can win it, I'm all about it. My last one in this tier is Lucas Glover, 8K flat. He has a 5th here back in 2016, a 14th in 2018. He did miss a cut last year, but I like he's had strong performances here. A 17th at the U.S. Open, a 65th at the Safeway, which isn't too exciting, but form's been pretty good for him in general. When you just look at that, stats-wise, he's 5th overall for me. He's 17th or better in every category I looked at. He's top 10 in 3 categories, $8,000. Seems like a great price for him. So I like Lucas Glover this week at 8K. Third tier, 7,500 or less. I will go back to the well with Christopher Ventura, Oklahoma State guy. I've talked about him a lot. His approach proximity worries me a little bit. He's like off the charts bad there, but the rest of it, everything I'm looking at, he's really, really good at. A 52nd last week. Like I said, he kind of just faltered on the weekend. And then a 7th at Safeway. So, I mean, 7,200 for him, that's basically just make a cut and he's in the play. I like that for him this week. Just like last week, I want to see a little bit better Sunday than what he had. But even if he makes the cut and he finished 40th, will he return his value? Yes, but I think he has upside of top 10 this thing. So I really like him at that price. Another guy I don't mind going back to, Jonathan Bird, 6,200. Didn't get he may even got a price decrease. I'll have to check that, which shocks me because he finished 28th last week. So he played well. He's was one of my core pieces. That's solid for him. He wasn't much more than that, if anything, last week in price wise. 61st at the Safeway, so still made the cut. He's only played this once back in 2016, didn't miss a cut, but not too worried about that. He's playing better now. He's 3rd in my stats overall. He's number 1 in accurate approaches and number 1 in strokes opportunity gain, 18 feet for me this week. So a lot to like about Bird at 6,200. That's, I mean, huge upside potential for him. Jason Duffner, veteran on tour, 6,800. He's 17th overall for me. Missed a cut here in 2016, a 25th, and a 39th after that. So I like that he's played 3 of the last 4 years here. He got a 29th at the Safeway, 23rd in stats overall for me. 6,800, just needed a cut made for him. He's a veteran. He can grind it out. Maybe get a hot putter type guy. I mean, when you look at, like, I think Boo Weekley's done well here, Ryan Armour, stuff like that. You see that kind of feels like Duffner could fit that style this week and could shock people and come out there in top 15, top 20 it. So I'll be on some Duffner this week. I mentioned my flop was going to be Usti. So I moved it to Benny on strictly because of the price. I don't know if I can get real comfortable spending $10,000 on Benny on and worried about that punter. Plus, I think he may get he's the cheapest 5K guy or 10,000 plus guy. And he got 3rd here last year. And so I think that's going to lure a lot of people into it. But statistical wise, he's 65th in the field for me. So if he's not hitting it great, he's going to be in a world of trouble because his putter's not going to save him. We know that. So he wasn't going to be my flop. It was going to be Usti because I really didn't know why Usti was here. That was in my notes. Why is he here? Well, I guess he probably thought the same thing because he withdrew. So Bignon's my flop this week. My fade is going to be Adam Long. And maybe he doesn't really get too much love. I think because he was somewhat talked about last week, he's actually down $400, but he finished 5th. Was leading going into Sunday. He's coming in pretty good. 13th at the U.S. Open, 5th at the Corrales. He got a 23rd here last year. I could see people like being on him just because of where he was at last week going into Sunday and all that. So if he's not high owned, I don't mind going back to him. I played him last week when he was a little less owned, but a little bit cheaper price. I could see people jumping on the Adam Long train. And so he's going to be my fade this week at $9,500. My sleeper is going to be Wes Bryant. I feel like when I see Ryan Armour's won this and stuff like that, that's a Wes Bryant track for me. Like, Brian is my number 1 statistical model guy. Obviously, he had a big break in there when he was kind of fixing his game, all that kind of stuff, but he's come back and played pretty decent. He did miss a cut at Safeway. He missed a cut here in 2018, but at 6,300, just like Jonathan Bird, like, I just need him to make a cut. And I feel like his game is improving enough when we've seen him that I really like the price. He came out great in my model. If he can putt just a little bit better, be a little solid. He's 7th or better in all 5 of my major categories I'm looking at stat-wise. So I like him on the up. I think he's on the up train, bringing back his game. I've said that before. 6,300 is a great price, but I don't think he's going to be that high owned. So it's not like I got to go 40% him or nothing. He may be 6 to 8%. I could just be double the field and feel good. And at that price, he's a good sleeper pick for me. Last 4 out was Griot. Nothing negative against him at all. 8,800 I feel is actually a good price for him. He's got 39th here last year, 29th at Safeway, 21st last week. He hits that ball good enough and his irons well enough that he won't have to depend on the putter as much. And if he can just somewhat putt, even if he's even on the week putting, he'll do really well and can win. So he was right there on the bubble for me in that price range. He was the last one out. Chesson Hadley, a guy that I continue to go back to. Sometimes he's a risk reward guy. Sometimes he's just dead by hole 6, and then sometimes he's a first round leader. So he's 14th overall in my model, 10th in statistical model. He does have a second here, although he's missed the cut last year. 14th at Safeway, made the cut the U.S. Open, which we know how brutal that was. 51st there overall. I like him as upside, $7,800, not too expensive to jump on that. Brian Harmon, 9,400. Real close to going to him, but at that price, I just like the other guys better. I will still have some Harmon. I don't expect him to be talked up too much. He's got a 14th there last year, a 38 at the Open. Stats are just okay. He's 34th in the field, which is probably less than desired at that price. So I think he could get jumped over. And I'm expecting not have to have that much of him to be at least leverage on the field. So I like Harmon this week. Scott Stallings, real close to putting him up above. Just missed the cut for me. I like him. I'll be on him. $6,600. He's got a 26th there and a 23rd here the last 2 years. Missed the cut at the Safeway Open. 19th in statistical model. I like him in general, and I think these are type of events he can show up at and do well. I like him at 200 to 1. Free spot of the week. I will have a top 20 bet on him at least. This is the kind of event I really think he can show up at and do well. So I like Scott Stallings this week. He was my last 4 out of those. My last 4 of the 4 out. Gut feels this week. I'm going to go back to Kirk. Played him last week, missed the cut. Him and Batillo were 2 of the guys that kind of killed some of my good 5 or 6s. There's nothing crazy there, but 7,200. He got a second here in 16, a 34th and 17, missed a cut in 18, didn't play last year. Again, just a gut play. So he's just right there on the bubble of everything. Excuse me. 28th in my overall Monday model ranking. So, he's right there for me. Tom Lewis, another guy that I played, several times. He is my free bet of the week outright, 6,600 to 1 or 66 to 1 for you guys. I will have him. I released a physical play to the community this morning. Obviously, I keep that for those guys because they pay for it. But Lewis is my free spot of the week, 66 to 1. I like him. 25th in stats. He missed a cut at U.S. Open. I just think his game kind of suits this course and could be a good spot for him to kind of build his game up on the PGA Tour. Brian Stewart was real close to being just in play in general. So the gut plays there. Made the cut the last 4 years. He obviously likes the course. It's 5th year in a row playing it, maybe longer. I just go back 4 years. 29th, 53rd, 54th, and 11th. Nothing too crazy, but pretty good finishes. A 3rd at the the Safeway Open, a 33rd last week, $7,500. If he top 30, top 35, that's great. So Stewart will probably be in the player pool for sure. And then last gut play is Gooch. I like him because I think I was part of it. Burned a lot of people at the Safeway Open. He's played here twice, a 30th and a 14th. So he's played the course well. Didn't play it last year for whatever reason. $7,400 seems cheap for his talent level. I worry about his irons a little bit in approach. That's kind of why he's just a gut play. We've seen him get wayward and be off, but we also know he can go low at any time. So don't think he'll be topped up much this week. If he gets on and his iron play is on for the week, I think he can do some damage here and climb up in that top 20. So kind of my last gut play of the week. Monkey Knife Fight, as always, sponsoring the betting and one and done strategy kind of segment. Started last week. Now we got some more data and everything, putting out some Monkey Knife Fight plays for NFL. When I see ones that I like, I think yesterday's did well. I haven't recapped everything. That's part of what I do Monday night, Tuesday morning. But we can take advantage of our DFS background and research and use it on Monkey Knife Fight. That's why I like them. It's us against them, the book, if you will. So it's kind of like betting, but you're using DFS knowledge. So it's a cool deal to go in there and use right now. You click the link or use the code GUP, get a 100% match up to your first deposit of $50. So put 50 in, get 50 for free. Go put it into play. There's no slow drip or anything like that. It's yours. Just, I'll have plays out there. Golf, I don't know if they're even doing the fall swing. I'll double check, but certainly we'll do NFL as I see ones that I like. Doesn't mean every slate, everything will be covered. They're going to be respectful of everybody's bankroll. I don't want to throw out a bunch of plays, but there are times I think there's some that we can take advantage of like we did yesterday. Betting strategy, just top 10 plays, kind of regurgitation of some of them. But, as I listed them out, just first look, I like Kim at 50-1, Cameron Davis at 55-1, Doc 33-1, Wes Bryan 225-1. That's probably more of a top 20, top 10 type play. Ventura 80-1, Chesson Hadley at 66-1, Duffner 100-1, Scott Stallings 200-1. Tom Lewis, I mentioned 66-1, and then Brian Stewart 100-1. Some of those guys will be each way type potentials. I obviously have my full final card out Wednesday to the premium members. One and done strategy this week. If you have a Scheffler, Zalatoris, Redmond, Burns, those kind of guys left, this is a spot you use them. A little bit weaker field. I doubt you've used all of them. I could see spots where you may have used Scheffler or maybe used Zalatoris last week. Doc, maybe a time or two, but out of those four, I would think you would have some of them open, and this kind of the week you use them. Sung Jae is a guy I really hadn't mentioned. Maybe you use him. Sung Jae's on the edge for me. His ownership will dictate how I play him. I don't want to play a chalky Sung Jae because he's been off. Like his game's been just kind of off in general. He did finish good at the U.S. Open and the Tour Championship, so it makes me feel maybe he's found those irons again. He got a second here last year, so I'm predicting, especially now that Usti's out, he may fall into a lot of the ownership there. We'll see. I don't want to play a chalky Sung Jae, but I'll have more on him as we deep dive and get into Wednesday. But he's a good, strong play this week for one and done. A couple guys, if you're just trying to get a skin this week in the one and done, maybe Tom Lewis, Scott Stallings, Wes Bryan, any of those guys that have high upside that could win here. Chris Baker, Chris Kirk, those kind of guys. I don't know if I go Jonathan Bird, but Luke List, he'll probably be on a little bit. Some of those other guys that, potentially could only have one person playing them. So those are kind of guys. We're only, I think, second week into segment 4. So you should still be alive at least for segment 4. So I'd probably be playing a top guy if you have it. As always, I'll kind of ping the room and figure out on E9, most likely not an E9 this week. We'll pick it back up when we get a little bit stronger feel back into it and more people interested per se. But if there's enough questions flowing in, I leave it up to you guys. If there's a ton of questions in the Slack and the live chat questions, hashtag live chat questions in there, I'll jump on and do an E9. 4:30 Eastern is when we've been doing it. Certainly fine to do it. Have no problems with it. If there's no generation of activity, then we'll just, focus on Gup's final thoughts. I'll be in Slack that night anyways, building, and then we roll into football. So enjoyed everything. Last week was crazy. It was busy. A lot of interesting football, needless to say. I think as we digest the season and all the unusual times we're having with, not only us, but the teams themselves, some of the things they're having to deal with COVID and testing and a lot of injury concerns and stuff like that. It's definitely one of the harder years to handicap. I've done well on NFL. College has been even harder and probably will back off at some because not only do they have just bigger teams and more people to spread around and last minute, players not playing and stuff, but they don't have where the NFL has to give you your inactive list. Well, it was 10:30 my time, so an hour and a half before the game. College doesn't have to. And with beat writers and stuff not on the sidelines, not as many of them or in the locker rooms like they're used to, it's really hard to get information. And so it's hard to handicap stuff in general. Definitely hard for anything, DFS and all that kind of stuff. But at least we have sports. We get a fantastic game tonight. Ravens and Chiefs should be electric, should be a lot of scoring. Looking forward to it. I hope you guys have a blessed week. And we will, if I don't see you Wednesday for E9, I will certainly be here in the morning to recap some of the stuff from last week and talk about rankings and all that. And then we'll be back Thursday for the coin flip. So have a good night. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you later. Good night.
SmashFactor.